And hello and welcome to the movieboozer.com virtual pub. I'm your host Ken Ekman, and I'm joined today by Bill Leon and Bill Arsenault.
Hey.
And later in the day, Hawk Ripjaw I almost said Whipjaw, will be joining us.
Sure.
Yes, Hawk Whipjaw. Well, I mean, neither makes any sense, but at least Ripjaw has that, I don't know.
It has an action movie character title to it, like Chest Rockwell.
Or I remember reading an article about the most badass names that are real, and there's a soldier in the U.S. Army whose actual name and rank was Master Sergeant Max Fightmaster. Fightmaster. Now that's just awesome. So with that in mind, today's beer is Big Sky IPA from the Big Sky Brewing Company. Here is the label.
Okay.
Big Sky Brewing Company is out of Missoula, Montana. And let's see, do we have any descriptions on it or anything? BigSkyBrew.com. Nope. So I'll just go ahead and open it up and we'll give her a taste. It is an IPA, so I'm sure it's going to have a nice bitterness to it.
Okay.
Oh, wait, there's some... Okay. Underneath the lid, it says Oro y Plata.
Do you know what that means off the top of your head?
I took Spanish back in high school, but I know E means and, so what does it mean? Do you know?
What was it again? Oro?
O-R-O, Oro y Plata. P-L-A-T-A.
Okay, I'm looking up right now. You can go ahead with the beer. I mean, I think it's some kind of Montana state motto.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't actually have a glass in front of me today. I could grab one, but
it means gold and silver.
Gold and silver.
Yes.
I can't show how it pours because I was dumb and didn't bring a glass, and I'm not going to waste our time by just grabbing one. So I'm going to drink it American style today.
That's American style.
No other country drinks beer straight out of the bottle without good reason. So.
Yeah.
And I think there's a reason for that, because when you drink beer straight out of the bottle, especially after opening it, you get the foam directly in your mouth, and it doesn't have a chance to breathe. No, I mean, I'm not getting anything particularly special out of it. So, Big Sky IPA, if you want to try one, and try one from Montana, okay.
Gold and silver.
Gold and silver. Silver and gold.
Gold and
Yukon
silver.
Cornelius. Yes, I just referenced Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer in the middle of goddamn summer. So anyway, Bill Arsenault, you saw Guardians of the Galaxy.
You lucky bastard.
Well, yeah, I don't want to brag. I mean, but,
Before we get into it, we are going to cover Hercules and Lucy later on when Hawk joins us, but I just wanted to cover this first, since it is the big news. So, Bill, give us a non-spoilerific description of your experience watching Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, you see, I got my ticket through at a comic book shop in town.
You got the golden ticket.
Yeah, they were just handing them out. They weren't even asking trivia questions. It was just like, how many do you want?
Oh, damn.
I could have easily said 5 or 6. I just needed 2, just for me and my brother. And we go there, and I thought we were leaving early. We got there like an hour and a half before the screening, and the line was already forming pretty heavily.
Yeah.
Not too heavily, but there was enough of a line started that kind of surprised me. So we waited for like an hour, and we finally get in. We grab some seats, and everyone's getting seated and everything. There's anticipation building, and the movie starts kind of abruptly. Like, I think it was just the timing of the screening or whatever. But it started with no intro. It was just the opening scene. And the opening scene, I guess it's not really spoiler. It's just it's Peter Quill, Star-Lord, as a kid in 1988, getting abducted by aliens. It's essentially the setup scene, and then it gets into the Marvel logo, and then it gets into the movie. And it was kind of funny because the presentation was in 3D, so I was just kind of like, wait, is the movie starting now? Well, there's no thing that says put on the glasses,
Oh, it didn't even have like production logos or anything?
No, it just kind of just started. I mean, it started with like 2 commercials for like Marvel products and stuff,
but then it just
jumped
smash cut right into the movie.
Yeah, pretty much. And then and after that, it settles into this really funny sequence where Peter Quill is going after this object. It's like he's basically he's a part of a group called the Ravagers. They're basically like scoundrels. They go around getting junk and selling it, and they're rowdy, that kind of stuff. And he's kind of on his own now. And there's this dance sequence he does to, I think it's "Come and Get Your Love." Come and get your love. And he's like singing. He's got the headphones on and everything. He's singing in his cave. He grabs an ant, like some lizard animal, and starts speaking into its head like a microphone. It's just a very funny, this is Peter Quill kind of sequence. I can't say the 3D was exceptional. Just to talk a little bit about that, because I went to go see the IMAX 3D 17-minute preview. I actually have the poster right there in the background. And that was extraordinary. The IMAX 3D. In fact, it was so good. James Gunn the director, appeared before that particular preview screening and said, we tailored this screening just for you guys, just for this event. Every frame has been meticulously, crafted and all that, and you could tell there was such depth and range in each piece of footage. But at this event, just the standard 3D, it just looked like standard 3D. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't the same quality. I'm guessing maybe there's a difference in with IMAX and. I don't know what it is, but I will say this though: it wasn't that dim. It was pretty bright, So that's always a problem with people with 3D glasses is the dimness. I didn't really get that this time.
Would you say that it's a good thing to see the movie in 3D, or would you call it unessential?
I would say go see it in IMAX 3D. That is awesome.
Okay.
In that format. In regular 3D, you can go either way. If you have kids, they'll probably want to see it in 3D, But it really doesn't. That ultimately doesn't matter because the movie itself just, visually looks great. It's a lot of outer space galactic scenery. You got these clusters of stars. You get a place called Nowhere with a K. Nowhere. It's almost like this. It's almost like the what's that place called?
It's like the Kansas on Point of No Return.
It could be, but I thought it was more like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, like the edge of what do they call that place where you go to?
The restaurant at the end of the universe.
Yeah, it felt like that. It very much the whole movie had a Mos Eisley Cantina feel to it.
Oh.
It felt like all these different aliens that you're seeing in this movie.
Did it feel like there were some more practical effects than in other Marvel films?
This had a lot of practical effects, and
because I know Gunn seems like the kind of person. I mean, he grew. Yeah, that's where he came from.
He essentially, I would say this is a very personal movie for Gunn in a weird way. You wouldn't think of it as a personal movie because it's basically a director being brought on to do a Marvel movie.
Right.
But it is kind of. I guess he made it personal because I see him very much as Star-Lord, or at least the way Star-Lord is presented in this movie. Someone who's a little witty, throwing out references, kind of an asshole at times. I don't know if James Gunn is in reality an asshole. I get the feeling he's a really cool guy, based on his Twitter account and everything. But if you've seen any of his previous movies, he's got a very twisted sense of humor. Bill Leon, you and I have talked a lot about Super, so you know exactly where I'm coming from here.
Oh, I've seen Super too, and I love Super.
Yeah. I haven't seen Slither, so I can't say anything about that. Though,
Slither's fucked up too.
no, I would love to check it out.
I've also seen Tromeo and Juliet, which, while he didn't technically direct, he was heavily involved in the production, and some people claim that he had more to do with direction than.
Yeah.
Depending on the source, he's either listed as an uncredited director or some other heavily involved source.
Yeah, and he actually helped write the book. Everything I know about filmmaking, I learned from The Toxic Avenger, which
Yeah.
co-written with Lloyd Kaufman, and that's a pretty damn fun book. So yeah, like I'm saying, in a weird way, this is kind of a personal movie. Throughout this film, Peter Quill will listen to his tape player, which was a mixtape made by his mom, and that's kind of like a personal thing in the movie, But I get the feeling I read beforehand two interesting facts about the music. One was James Gunn picked all the songs that was going to be on the mixtape, and
Okay.
two, James Gunn commissioned the score to be made by Tyler Bates prior to the movie being shot, so he could actually shoot stuff with the score in the background.
That's the Sergio Leone style.
Right.
I like that.
It's very interesting, and you get this very strong sense that the music that's playing in the movie is directing the action that's happening.
Yeah.
It's almost like the action is taking its cues from the music as opposed to the music just kind of playing along with the action that's going down. And it makes things that much more wonderful, especially if you're a big music fan. There's like sequences like when they play Cherry Bomb, or when they play Ooh Child. I can't say that song's title without singing it a little bit. What was that band? The Five Stair Steps. Yeah, they play that song, and the action that's taking place, whatever's being shown, it's directly informed by the music, and it's pretty amazing to see something tailor-made specifically for the soundtrack. Like that takes prominence.
I'm going to go ahead and just add to this. I have a list of the so-called Awesome Mix Volume 1, which is, I guess, the songs in the film or that are supposed to be on the mixtape.
Yeah.
Of course, Hooked on a Feeling, as everyone knows from the trailer. Next, Go All the Way from the Raspberries.
Yeah.
Spirit in the Sky, Norman Greenbaum.
That one actually isn't in the movie.
Yeah.
It's in the trailer, but it's not in the movie.
Moon Age Daydream, David Bowie. I approve.
Yeah.
Fooled Around and Fell in Love, Elvin Bishop. I'm Not in Love, 10cc. I Want You Back, the Jackson 5. Come and Get Your Love, Redbone. That's a fun song. Cherry Bomb, the Runaways. Escape, the Pina Colada song, Rupert Holmes. Ooh Child, Five Stair Steps. And Ain't No Mountain High Enough, Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell.
Yeah, I want to say something too about that use of that song at the end. It's almost a little too sappy the way they use it at the end, but it still works. Like, you know that feeling you get when you see something and go, oh, they didn't have to do that, but it still kind of feels right.
I will say this definitely sounds like the kind of mixtape that I would expect to hear on a parent of that age, roughly, from the mid-'80s. Like, yeah, it makes perfect sense to me, putting myself in those shoes.
Yeah, and another thing to talk about is Peter Quill acts exactly like a man-child from the 80s. He'll make references to Footloose, and I don't remember if he makes anything direct to Star Wars, but he certainly acts like a kid who watched a lot of Return of the Jedi.
Maybe also things like The Last Starfighter.
Or specifically The Last Starfighter. That's which is funny because that movie has a lot of story elements that Guardians has too. Like a guy taken from Earth, put into this extraordinary situation deep into space. Basically gets to live out his child fantasies in real life. And yeah, I would compare this to Last Starfighter in a very positive way too.
Well, I mean, I love Last Starfighter, and so that's a positive comparison to that is always a good choice. I'm very excited to see the movie from that comparison alone. Would you say, okay, let's get to other elements of Guardians of the Galaxy then.
Okay.
What would you say about the cast? Did the cast pull their weight?
Yes. Although my only quibble might be with Bradley Cooper, who felt like he was doing an impersonation of Joe Pesci. But
I will say, just from the trailers alone, I've not been sold on Bradley Cooper's voice.
It wasn't bad voice acting. It just, I don't know. It just felt like someone doing an impersonation. It didn't really feel organic.
Okay.
But the character is so well done, Rocket Raccoon, that you kind of forget about it and you just kind of go with the flow anyways. Vin Diesel as Groot, obviously Vin Diesel isn't like doing a lot in this. He is doing a lot. I take that back. He is doing a lot, but he's not like on screen. He's not being Vin Diesel. And I know, Ken, you don't like Vin Diesel, so
it's not that I don't like Vin Diesel. It's that I really feel that he is
a piss poor actor.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think he's a likable. I've seen him in interviews and stuff, and he seems like a likable person. But Jesus, I cannot buy his acting.
Well, here in Guardians, he only has like 3 or 4 words that he says at a time. I am Groot, although there is one time where he says it, like he sort of says something different, but it's
don't give that away. I don't want to be.
I'm not gonna go
on that. I will say that his very best performance, in my opinion, it was a voice performance.
Iron Giant. Yeah. Well, he does show some good range in this, despite the fact it's just voice acting and it's just a couple words, which isn't on the surface a lot to give an actor. But I think he worked really well with James Gunn, closely with James Gunn in the voice acting department, like in terms of coming up with how to pull different emotions from reading the lines, the same line, in different ways. He's at one point he says like I am Groot, and then he goes I am Groot. And he says it like in totally different manner. I pictured in my head James Gunn saying, "Okay, Vin, read the line as if someone were poking you in the back of the head with a stick. All right, now read it as if your mother just died. Now read it, you know what I mean, like going down the line like that." And that's kind of how it comes off, but it's done really well, and I think I would take the Groot performance over the Rocket performance personally. Not to say Bradley Cooper was bad. I'm just saying that's what I would. That's my ranking.
Maybe instead of Bradley Cooper's voice, they should have got Jazz Adams, the guy who did the voice of Peppy Hare in Star Fox 64.
Well, actually, H. John
Press CNR twice.
H. John Benjamin was actually up for the role of Rocket.
Really?
Yeah, that would have been really cool to have happened. That would have added a bit like some weird. Could you imagine H. John Benjamin playing a character like Rocket? That would have been like.
Dude, somebody needs to, when Guardians comes out, just overdub all of Rocket's lines with a bunch of Coach McGurk shit.
Right. I'm trying to imagine the guy who does Coach McGurk doing Rocket, because they're two totally different. Tonally, I mean, like McGurk comes off like he's very tired all the time.
Yeah.
Walks around slow. Rocket is a little animal who runs around a lot. He's aggressive. He's assertive. He's kind of vulgar, and
H. John Benjamin would have been a perfect casting choice.
He could have done it. He could have pulled it off. I'm just trying to.
I wouldn't be surprised if the casting choice was affected by the fact that we need to get another celebrity in here.
It probably was that. You can also attribute Glenn Close being casted as that. She's even said in interviews, like, I only did this movie so I could do a movie that I actually wanted to do.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't care. She didn't do a bad job in this. He just wasn't in there that much.
Well, there's something to be said for paycheck movies, and I don't blame actors for doing that. I mean, some actors and indeed some directors make entire careers out of switching off between, projects that they get paid to do and projects they want to do. Orson Welles I would argue he probably was the first director who saw himself as an artist first, but he did plenty of commercial acting jobs in order to pay for his more commercial stuff. Less commercial stuff. I mean,
yeah. Dave Bautista as Drax. That was a really surprising performance for me. Because the last movie I saw Bautista in was The Man with the Iron Fists.
Right.
And he didn't really have much to work with because the script kind of sucked. And
whoa! Kind of sucked.
Okay, it kind of really sucked.
I am curious to see the two-part epic that it was meant to be, according to Rizzo.
Yeah, that would have been talk about like a train wreck of a movie. I mean, my God. But that still is would have been interesting just to see it. No, he said lines in that movie like, yeah, I was a member of that clan, then I killed them. It's like, what?
What?
Dun dun dun. Is that what that was supposed to be?
I still maintain the best line in Man with the Iron Fist is when I almost said Kurt Russell, god damn it. Russell Crowe shows up, and he gets his big epic entry moment, and he shouts, "My name is Mr. Knife, but you can call me Jack." And it's just clearly Russell Crowe not giving a fuck.
Or how about in the beginning of the movie where that guy who's like a prince or something is about to go off on a journey or whatever, and he's talking to his girlfriend, he's like, nothing will come between us, and then some guy comes up and he's like, your father's dead. I was like, what the fuck?
I laughed my ass off at that because that was so awkward.
That was so poorly timed. But anyways, Bautista didn't really have much to work with in that movie, so you couldn't really get a feel for him as an actor. Mm-hmm. I know him as a wrestling fan. I know him from his wrestling, so I can say he didn't start off too well. The first couple of years he was wrestling, he came off like a poor wrestler to me. He was trying to be good, but kind of didn't have it. But over time, got the experience that he needed and really started to shine. In this movie, I would say that holds very true. He plays a very hilarious character. Drax is like this tough guy, brute, who's out for revenge, but everything goes over his head in terms of like the references and the metaphors and stuff like that Peter Quill uses on him. The funny thing, Rocket says it really quickly. He says Drax's race of people doesn't understand metaphors and shit. They take things too literally. And stuff that goes over his head. And then Drax is like, nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are so good, I'll catch it. You know what I mean? Like, he just doesn't get it. And that becomes almost like its own little arc, because by the end of the movie, something happens, and he it's a funny little joke, but it's a nice little thing. That's the cool part of the thing about this movie is each of these characters, they're like, Peter Quill is from Earth. Mm-hmm. Gamora is like one of the adoptive daughters of Thanos. Drax is from his own planet. Rocket is an experiment, so on and so forth. And you get that strong sense that each of these people do come from their own cultures, have their own, are very specific individual characters.
They don't feel like they were just written in as insert stereotype, sort of like
they feel very lived in. They feel very real. You also get the strong sense that they don't even fit. That they don't fit in anywhere else in the galaxy except with each other. Mm-hmm. You get that whole friendship thing going on, and that's not a bad thing to have in a movie like this. Mm-hmm. That level of sentimentality.
Well, any space adventure movie has to have that kind of camaraderie.
Well, sure.
Or build up to it, at least. If it doesn't have that camaraderie, it has to be based around putting it together.
Sure, I agree. And it's fun to see them try to get together because they get together through like a one after another situation of mishaps. You know, like Rocket's like a bounty hunter at first, and he's like, "Oh, there's some guy that I can capture," and he tries capturing Peter Quill. Meanwhile, Gamora's trying to get the thing from him, and they're all fighting on this planet, trying to run around, and eventually they all go to jail, and they're
Okay, all right. We're getting a little bit into spoiler territory here.
It's not too much of a spoiler because the previews are all online.
Okay.
Officially released by Marvel, so it's okay. But they kind of get together through just situations of craziness and whatnot, and it's really fun to see them come together in the end. This is a highly recommended film coming from me. I can't recommend it enough. I think it's a movie that people say this a lot. It's a movie that everyone can enjoy. And I don't know if that's actually a good thing, if a movie is something that everyone can enjoy.
I think it's fine if a movie just happens to appeal to a large audience. I don't think a movie should be designed specifically to appeal to a broad audience.
Yeah,
with that said, these films have to be in order to make their money back.
Right.
I think that the Marvel films, though, have managed, for the most part, to tread that line safer than others of maintaining some integrity while appealing to a broad audience.
Yeah, there is definitely that creative integrity and marketability, balance going on there. Like, we got to make the money back, but we also don't want to be dicks to the filmmakers. So they're able to kind of meet in the middle somehow and come up with something really, really wonderful. And in the case of Guardians of the Galaxy, that's exactly what happened. And I don't know how well this is going to do at the box office. I can only imagine it's going to make a shitload of money. I don't know if it's going to be like Avengers territory, but
especially because it's directly competing next week against Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think that's going to be a difficult proposition.
I don't know. You see, I have this strong feeling that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and maybe this is just me, but I feel like after its first week, it's just going to go downhill for that movie.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I haven't heard anyone who's actually seen the movie yet.
Are they doing advanced screenings for that? Because like a lot of times they'll keep critics out because they.
I'm sure they are, but they're not happening in my area. At least I know they're happening in my area. If not, then that is big telling that they don't want critics getting a hold of it too early.
For what it's worth, Rotten Tomatoes doesn't have any reviews yet.
Yeah, so it could be that they're holding off on that. In which case, yeah, it's not going to be a good movie. But I cannot, as someone who's seen a crap load of trailers, I can tell from this trailer it's probably not going to be something that's going to sit well with me,
Right.
But I'll see it just to say I've seen it, and we'll end up talking about it on another episode.
Oh yeah.
So I would just say buy another ticket to Guardians.
Well, actually, this is going to be an interesting weekend for me. I actually have a couple days off, so it's a little bit longer weekend. And thankfully, aside from me event, I do want to see Lucy. I did not see it yet. I'm also going to be getting, besides Guardians, Wish I Was Here, which I'm not. I don't really want to see it, but I will probably anyway, just because.
Could we talk? You want to talk a little bit about the whole Garden State style filmmaking?
Let's get into that in a moment. I actually have something positive to say next.
Okay.
I'm getting Boyhood.
Good. Okay. Very good.
And I'm very interested in seeing that.
Are you getting I Origins?
I Origins. Let me check. I actually have my listings in front of me. So get on up. I can't say that movie's title without. Some movie called Affluenza. I've not heard of that.
I haven't heard of that either. I know of Affluenza.
Yeah, I can see TMNT, the 2007 movie, if I want,
Yeah. No.
which I've seen and only very recently at a friend's house, and I wish I hadn't. Um,
It's not that bad.
Turtles Forever should have been released theatrically. That was a far better film.
It was screened theatrically. I don't know if it got a release. Like, it was, I think it was just in this one place that they screened it.
Yeah, not as far as I know. No, Most Wanted Man's still there. An Indian movie called Kick. It doesn't look like it. Boyhood seems to be the only... And friggin' Chef is still playing at this theater? Jesus.
Yeah, isn't that surprising? Same thing with my local theater, too. Chef, and that was shot partially in my area, but it's been playing for like 2 months, maybe more.
It's worth it. It's a damn fine movie. It's just, it shocks me that... How long has that movie been...
That's some staying power right there, especially for a movie. Like, I can't imagine it was made for much money, like maybe a couple million,
No, yeah, I don't think that they reported it, but it looks like, it's pulled in a respectable $27 million in the U.S. box office.
I'm not saying anything bad about it. I just mean for a movie that's a small independent film, or a relatively small independent film, there comes Hawk.
I actually just looked up that Affluenza movie.
Yeah.
And here's the description of it. It says here, in 2014, teenage Ethan Crouch was given probation and mandatory treatment in a rehab facility for driving drunk and killing 4 people. He was given no jail time. The case made national news when a psychologist hired by defense said he suffered from affluenza, where poor little rich kids just have to run wild because their parents didn't set limits.
Oh my goodness!
Right.
I guess this is a theatrical film adaptation of this, and I guess yeah. The fact that I haven't heard of this movie until just this moment. Oh shit! Rotten Tomatoes currently is at 23%. So.
Nice.
Yeah. Apparently, the film is like it takes elements from that and kind of spins it into like a Great Gatsby-esque kind of thing, which is
what?
You know what? Fuck it.
Like it's 3D and glittery and it's got a great soundtrack and shit.
Well, I was thinking more the actual. You know what? Fuck this movie. No one's gonna see Affluenza, so why don't we go ahead and talk something else?
Yeah, let's touch on Zach Braff, as Bill brought up.
Yeah, wish I was here. First of all, I haven't seen it yet. I may see it simply because I have this part of me that is, I will say, self-loathing in that I like seeing movies that I know are going to suck just to make sure that my beliefs are justified.
Or do you have a clinically noteworthy closet affection for Zach Braff?
I've never liked Scrubs. I actually have never seen Garden State. And the trailer for Wish I Was Here kind of makes me want to vomit just a little bit in my mouth. Right. Because it is the textbook definition of pouty white people problems kind of movie. I'm in a state of ennui.
Well, yeah, but they also want you to be like, aren't we precious? And it's that kind of shit.
The scene in the trailer that pisses me off is he's in some doctor's office and he looks next to him and there's an empty tray that has the ironic phrase, this pamphlet may save your life, and there's no pamphlets left. It's like, fuck you, movie.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Garden State, all you have to do is watch the trailer for Wish I Was Here.
That's the whole movie.
That's pretty much Garden State.
Yeah, I guess it is.
In terms of feeling and atmosphere.
Well, no, actually, no, I disagree with you. I think Garden State is more of its own thing, but it's not good.
I went through a phase where I kind of liked Garden State, but then I saw it again on like a second viewing of it, and then I was like, okay, that's what was bugging me.
I went through a phase where I kept confusing Finding Neverland and Garden State. neither of them were movies I had seen, but both were indie darlings that came around at the same time.
I don't have too much memory of watching Garden State, but I know like the first until Natalie Portman comes in the movie, it's like constant melancholy. And
it's a lot of scenes of Zach Braff just.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And
melancholy can be done well. I've seen it done well before. It's
I don't know if, in this case, you know.
These coming of age movies are out of control because everybody has one, and it's getting to the point where they're just so few and far between as far as being well done.
There's this awesome video on YouTube where I don't mean to cut you off, but there's this awesome video on YouTube where this guy he basically comes up with an alternate ending for Garden State, where basically it's just the end credits with Natalie Portman crying over them, and essentially the movie ends with Zach Braff. And this is a spoiler, but he goes in the movie. He doesn't go on the plane. He stays with Natalie Portman. But in the alternate ending that this guy came up with, he gets on the plane, and then a couple days later calls Natalie Portman on the phone and is like, I figured out who I am. You know, because before he gets on the plane, he's like, I gotta figure out who I am.
I think I just came up... Well, you know what? It makes me think... These movies kind of make me think of... you know how mumblecore movies are made with mostly, unknown actors or less-known actors, and they're semi-improvised and very low-key, but usually they have a lot of these same melancholy elements to them, of people who aren't quite living up to everything that they might potentially have.
I cannot stand...
You know what this is? I would call Zach Braff's style of movies like humblecore, where it's like humble bragging via movies.
Yeah, I could see that.
He's saying, my life is in shambles, but I am an actor, and I do have money, and I live in this nice house.
You know what's funny about that, Ken? In Garden State, he plays an actor.
He plays an actor in this movie too.
Exactly. What a dick.
I didn't know that he played an actor in this one.
I have the synopsis right up here. Wish I Was Here is the story of Aidan Bloom, a struggling actor, father, and husband who at 35 is still trying to find his identity, a purpose for his life.
Yeah. Wasn't this movie funded via Kickstarter?
Yes. Yes, it was.
So we should all kick ourselves in the ass.
Oh, I didn't give him any money.
We should start kicking ourselves in the ass.
You know what? People wanted this movie to happen, and it happened. That's fine by me.
Garden State has a fan base, and it's the same kind of people that will try to compare something like I Heart Huckabees to like a Wes Anderson flick. That's the Zach Braff audience.
I have not seen I Heart Huckabees, admittedly.
I like it. I didn't mean to badmouth it just there. I like that movie, but some people think that it's like this profound fucking movie that it's not.
Yeah, well, it really isn't. It's more or less just a comedy of mishaps.
Yeah. Well, hell, some people put Napoleon Dynamite in the Wes Anderson kind of label, and it's while I enjoy Napoleon Dynamite, it's not anything particularly
Judas.
deep. What did you say, Judas?
I hate Napoleon Dynamite.
Well, here's the thing. I think in order to like Napoleon Dynamite, there's a few things that have to happen in your life. One of them is growing up in a predominantly religiously conservative area, in a kind of country setting, and going to school that is basically exactly like the school in Napoleon Dynamite. The people in Napoleon Dynamite are people... I mean, granted, in the world of Napoleon Dynamite, they're probably Mormons, but it's different in my area. It doesn't matter religion-wise. The point is, everyone in that movie is someone who I grew up with. And so I felt so personally... It spoke to me. I knew those people.
Napoleon Dynamite was cathartic for you.
Yes, and and it rung home. Every element of that movie is the girl selling those little cheapy bead things. I knew a girl just like that with. I don't think she had the hair exactly like that, but it was like the character was. I knew of Napoleon. I knew Pedro.
You gonna flash back to Nam there?
Seriously, here's the thing. I was not a fan of my high school, and Napoleon Dynamite to me felt like a light-hearted jab at everything that I didn't like about growing up.
Okay, I mean, it's not that I think it's bad. It's just it annoys me because when I was in high school when that came out, and when it came out, it was just like, to a lot of people, like, any socially awkward white kid is Napoleon Dynamite, period.
Another thing is I actually saw Napoleon Dynamite in limited release. I saw it when it was only playing in like a couple hundred theaters versus
I remember that.
A few thousand. And so I saw it long before it also became this phenom, and suddenly people were calling it, the indie darling of the year.
Which is so bizarre.
So yeah, I mean, I admit I did. I hate to be the hipster, but I saw it before it was cool. So, actually, no, I don't hate being the hipster. I'm right in this case. I literally saw it before it was cool, and when I say literally, I mean literally. So, on to Hercules. Changing the subject completely. Hawk, you saw Hercules.
Yeah, and I reviewed it too, and shockingly, I kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah, I know. Don't you feel a little sick for that?
I feel a little dirty having enjoyed that. I mean, like, when I was young and foolish, I liked the first two Rush Hours.
Yeah.
And at that age, even I could recognize that Red Dragon was bullshit. But yeah, I mean, like, all else aside, Brett Ratner's Hercules was fun.
I will say I'm not going to give him credit as a director as much, simply because the movie felt no different directorially than, like, the Conan movie that came out a couple years ago. I think the only thing that makes it superior is the script, which is significantly sharper than that Conan movie was.
And it still wasn't a very good script. It had its funny moments, but mostly it was not terrific. What
they did well was the jibes. I think whoever punched up the screenplay was probably told, hey, those Marvel movies are making a lot of money, so make this movie funny. And so insert a bunch of cynical jokes and meta humor.
And I thought it was quite strong for the humor. Like, it was actually legitimately had some funny parts. It had none of, and again, I mentioned multiple times in the review, and I'll probably say it here, like, Brett Ratner movie, but it doesn't feel like one really necessarily. The comedic timing is better. The action is sharper.
Hold on. Brett Ratner doesn't have a style. He's a director for hire, so I don't think that you could say that a movie is or isn't a Ratner movie.
He has a style. I would
Describe
say.
It then.
It's the art of directing without directing.
Yes. Quite.
But Kevin Smith also does that, so.
Ooh.
His own words, by the way. So.
There's just a stigma attached to Brett Ratner that I can't even really, admittedly, I'm saying it on the air, on the internet, committed, to the airwaves forever. I don't know why I dislike Brett Ratner. It's the thing to do. I think it's mostly because I don't like most of the stuff that he does. Like, what was the last thing he did? I think the last thing he did was Rush Hour 3, was it not?
As a director?
No, was that movie Tower Heist, right?
Oh, yeah. And Tower Heist was terrible.
Yeah, well, the last thing he did as a director was he directed one of the segments of movie 43.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, Tower Heist was his last full film. And here's the thing. Here's what I don't like about Brett Ratner. Aside from, of course, his films, he also takes the time to produce movies like Mirror Mirror, Skyline. He's taken time to produce things like uh, the upcoming Horrible Bosses 2, and Horrible Bosses. Is not a fan of those.
Horrible Bosses 2, I mean, we won't get into it right now, but I just want to put it out there that the trailer for Horrible Bosses 2 is far better than it had any right to be.
I agree, and I thought the first Horrible Boss is not bad.
But
and he comes off like a douche, by the way, when I've seen him.
He does. He completely does. And
with that said, I
think that's what it is that Brett Ratner's movies are douchey. It's like even X-Men. It's like, fuck you, I'm going to change everything about X-Men. The Rush Hour movies are like, hey, what is it? Like, racial ignorance is funny. Language barriers are hilarious. Or Tower Heist. It's like all of his movies are just douchey. It's unpleasant people doing unpleasant things, and not in a funny way. But Hercules was, it was fun. I think a lot of it has to do with The Rock's charisma as an actor. He's not a good actor, but he's a charismatic one.
The supporting cast, of course, also benefits. And I will say, there's something about Dwayne Johnson's fucking smile.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but in this movie especially, when he smiles, it's a legit smile. And you get the feeling, wow, he's actually having fun in this. That's what I got out of it. I think the supporting cast. I mean, you have Rufus Sewell, you have Ian McShane, Joseph Fiennes, John Hurt. I mean, that's a damn good cast.
It's a strong cast, and again, like you said, you could tell they're all having fun. Particularly Ian McShane, who I first got acclimated to Ian McShane with 44-inch chest and Sexy Beast, which he has extremely remarkable, very straightforward roles. I mean, 44-inch chest is a little bit funny just because he was playing one of the most sadistic characters in the movie, and he's gay and calls everybody kitten. But
what?
Yeah, Bill A. If you haven't seen 44-inch chest, that's an excellent movie. It's from the writer of Sexy Beast.
There's a rule that I have that if Ian McShane is in the movie, he's usually the best part of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it worked with Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Look no further if you want a really nice... if you want to be immersed in the world that is Ian McShane as an actor, it's available on Amazon Prime now. It's available on HBO Go. Deadwood is fucking amazing.
Oh yeah, he calls everybody a cocksucker on that one, doesn't he?
Oh yeah. I think the word cocksucker might be the single most used obscenity in that show.
Oh,
so.
No doubt, no doubt.
And
he's dead in that. He's a fucking asshole in that show.
Oh well, he's great at playing characters who you love to hate, but he can play more than that. And in this movie, he plays a likable character. For those who haven't seen it, in Hercules, his character he's sort of a mage who can see into the future, or at least supposedly can. But really, in truth, he's a seer who may or may not actually see the future, but does, in fact, take a lot of mushrooms.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry, I don't know if they call them mushrooms. I think they just refer to them as herbs. And there's a scene where he's just chowing down on this bowl of mysterious matter that he's not sharing with anyone.
Yes, his role is fantastic. It was consistently the funniest parts of the movie when he would open his mouth. Particularly
a running joke in which he predicts his death, and it keeps not happening.
Yeah, he's like, I will be struck in the chest with a flaming bolt. And every time some flaming arrows or spears happen to come anywhere near him, he, like, accepts it with open arms, literally. He's, like, stands in the middle of the battlefield as it's raining flaming arrows, and they all fall around him, and not a single one hits him.
Yeah.
And it's stuff like that, and his bewilderment at him not dying yet is just funny. And I won't say it, but... like, the last line in the movie is probably the funniest in the whole movie, and it comes from him.
I will agree. Yeah, it really... This is what it was. The movie is a B-level action movie that just happens to have some well-written jokes. and it has enough of them and they're spread out pretty well throughout the film that it makes the movie a very enjoyable experience to watch. In a
Yeah.
way, it almost makes fun of its own ridiculous concept.
Oh yeah, and that's actually something I wanted to point out too, is that the movie even makes fun of the fact that mythology itself is so over the top. There's even a line where Hercules is like, I did this and this, or so they say. And as it kind of goes on, as the movie is, and it's the same way on the graphic novel it's based on, there's nothing really that mythological or extraordinary about these stories. They're all just very heavily embellished by the storytellers. Like for
The
example,
one true element of it is the fact that Hercules is, I mean, let's be fair, he is pretty much super strong.
yeah, Hercules
Because,
is more than likely a demigod. But it's stuff like most things that could be supernatural are revealed to be tricks of the light or the mind.
or just friggin' Scooby-Doo style ghosts.
Yeah.
Like, things. Old Man Withers was the Hydra, basically.
Right. And it's like, for that, in that note, I was a little disappointed at first that the mythological elements are not too heavy. Like, all the scenes from the trailer of him fighting the boar and the lion and the Hydra are all within roughly the first 40 seconds of the movie.
And none of it actually happened.
And none of it actually happened. It's all, like, revealed to be something different. But, once the movie actually establishes itself as a fairly rudimentary sword and sandals movie, and you accept that it's an entertaining film, and once it knows what it is, it pulls it off very effectively.
I have to give some credit to John Hurt because I think his performance is subtle and yet kind of gets a great arc where he starts off as basically playing up the fact that he's an elderly man and being this old kind of decrepit dude who doesn't do a whole lot, and he's a king, but he's an aging and probably soon to die king. But then at one point in the movie, his character makes a major change, and you find out that he's been spoiler, he's been evil all along, and that change, he goes for the gusto, and he gets some nice speechifying moments. And John Hurt is at his best when he gets to do a Shakespearean style, just word vomit explosion of threats.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And not to jizz all over this movie for the next 50 minutes, but there is a lot of course, with it being a movie with Dwayne Johnson, there's plenty of ridiculousness on his part as well. The first there's pretty much 3 major battle sequences in the movie, and those are the main action set pieces. The first one, they're fighting these
pirates, I think.
They're like, what's the character, the bad guy from Apocalypse Now? They look like him.
Colonel Kurtz?
Kurtz, yeah, they look like a whole bunch of like Kurtzes. And one is like screaming and flinging his blades, and he runs like headlong at Hercules. All he does is bam, and the guy flies back a good 50 feet. And it's just stuff like that. Like, whenever the Rock hits somebody, they go fucking flying. And it's just like his raw power. And then, like I said in the review, the last 15 minutes or so of the movie, it's just, the movie is like, okay, you know what? It's time for Hercules to just tear shit up. And he does.
If anything, my biggest criticism of the film is that it makes fun of all of these fantastical elements, while also showing, all of Hercules and his company doing these really crazy battle feats. I almost wish that they were a little bit less successful at their jobs, like that they got hurt a little bit more and weren't as crazy at fighting. Like, even Ian McShane's character, who's supposed to be a wizard, like mage kind of thing, even he is like a master stick fighter, and it doesn't have to be that way. I think it's just a matter of being an action movie. These days, every fighter has to be like the best fighter possible.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that pushes the fantasy category a little bit, and I would have liked a little bit more of a what I like to call the man who would be king element, where the people see him get wounded. Like when Dwayne Johnson gets cut in that one scene, I was hoping there was going to be some kid who saw him bleeding and suddenly lost faith in someone he perceived to be a god, something like that.
You're asking a lot of again, a Brett Ratner movie.
Well, that's the thing. I think with just a little bit of tweaking to the screenplay and making it a little bit smarter, it could have gone from a B-level summer actioner that's probably going to be, a box office disappointment. Well, is a box office disappointment, to, I think, a more intelligent movie that could have perhaps, even if it didn't do as well in the box office, it could have fallen into Dread territory and
right,
and become a cult success, which of course in the long run it makes it a much more successful project.
On that note, I mean, this movie will probably, if it's tracking very well overseas, and apparently it is supposed to be a franchise starter. If it does that, I wish it well, and I'd be excited to watch the sequels. If it doesn't, it'll be forgotten in a couple years. Nobody will know or care that it existed.
Like Conan.
Well, exactly. So I would recommend catching it. Like whenever you get a chance. It's a fun. It's very lean movie. 90 minutes before credits. It's entertaining. It's a fun little movie. It won't end up on my best of or worst of list of the year, but
that's the other thing I'd give it credit for, is it is an in and out 90-minute movie, and it doesn't. A movie of this level doesn't have to be 2.5 fucking hours long.
Right. It's lean. It's very straightforward. There are no subplots really. It's just kind of a fun little movie. I guess really the last thing before we move on is I wanted to kind of point out the editing was very strong, and the cinematography even. It looked good. The CGI was a little plasticky, but that's good. That's to be expected.
Yeah, I mean it's a mid-budgeted action film, so.
I was very, I didn't think I would be on the edge of my seat at all during this film, but towards the very end, it's in the trailer where Ian McShane's like, now tell me, who are you? And during that scene, they're strapping the love interest into this execution thing, and they're going to chop off her head. And the editing and shooting of that scene was very well done. I was actually getting really agitated because while Ian McShane is getting Hercules is chained down, Ian McShane's giving the pep talk, and this girl is screaming as they're strapping her down. She's screaming and begging, and they're getting ready to raise the axe. And it was actually the way that it switched between those 3 different shots very effectively. I was actually getting really excited and agitated at the scene. I knew it was probably going to be okay, but
well, part of the realism element that the movie kind of goes into does allow for a little bit of extra tension, in that you wonder, how far are they going to take this? Are they going to do a last... I mean, they don't, simply because I don't think Brett Ratner has it in him to do something this ballsy. But they could have, and I did have that feeling in my stomach of they could presumably give this a really fucked up, depressing ending. Yeah. And, and that would also make it a message kind of movie of, there are no gods.
Like, don't fuck with a king. Don't fuck with John Hurt, rather. But as it turns out, it's don't fuck with Dwayne Johnson. Greasy as ever, impossibly muscular.
You don't fuck with the G's, pal.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's a fun movie. Do we want to talk about Lucy?
Oh, fuck
yeah. I want you to tell me whether or not it's worth money spending.
No, it's not worth money. It's not worth anything. It's not. I'll tell you that right now. So I was driving home.
No, go ahead.
So I had kind of a bad day yesterday. It was okay. I had to drive down to Colorado, pouring ass rain in this fucking Northwest for the past 2 days, and the rain was so bad that the people driving down I-25 had their hazard lights on, just so the people behind them could see that they were there. So I was already kind of annoyed. I was driving home, like, you know what? I want to see a movie. I'm kind of tired. I just want to relax and watch a really awesome movie. Lucy was not that.
Yeah, You may as well just go and see Dawn of the Planet of the Apes or something.
I know, right? But I didn't want to sit in the theater for 2 hours and 45 minutes after sitting in a car for at least that long.
Yeah.
So, for those that don't know, the premise of Lucy is that Scarlett Johansson, she is kidnapped and used as a drug mule to smuggle this drug that is, when she's beaten, breaks open in her stomach and it releases into her bloodstream and starts unlocking her brain. So it uses the now refuted theory that people only use 10% of their brain.
Long distance refuted.
Long refuted, yes. So as she uses more and more of her brain, she becomes more omniscient of the world around her. She can sense life. She can look at a tree and see the veins of the tree down into the roots. She can manipulate matter and people.
Is it about time that we need to stop letting Morgan Freeman be in sci-fi movies?
I know, he's really fucking it up, isn't he?
Transcendence, and then this.
But think about everything that could be awesome about that concept, and then imagine that being cruelly stolen away from you in 90 minutes.
It sounds like Luke Besson.
Happens in the movie. Luke Besson has effectively ruined Christmas. Because the concept of Lucy is so fucking cool. Like, how badass, like, you become a superpowered, near godlike figure as you can use more and more of your powers. Telekinesis, control of time, and nearly every frame of action that appears in the movie was already in the trailer. This is barely an action flick. I would even say...
I mean, that isn't in itself a problem, necessarily.
I wouldn't even call it an action movie. I would call it a science fiction film, not a science fiction action movie. Plot holes. I didn't notice this until somebody pointed it out on the IMDb boards. The drug itself is something called, I think they said it's PCH4, which is what the mother secretes, and it goes through her into the baby, so the baby can build the neurons and cells that it needs to actually, grow in the womb and gain knowledge and all that shit.
Okay.
This drug is a synthetic form of that, and when someone takes it, they're basically unlocking more and more of their neurons.
Okay.
Somebody pointed out, okay, throughout the movie, Scarlett Johansson needs to find these 3 other mules so she can take the drug and ingest it, because she'll die if she doesn't. She's accelerating at such a fast rate, she'll essentially explode. She'll disintegrate. So she needs to last a little bit longer so she can get her revenge, get to 100%, give Morgan Freeman the secrets of the universe, and, die. So she needs to find the rest of the drugs. And somebody was like, why couldn't she just make more of that herself? And
because she's
was
supposed to be
wait
a
a
super
second, you're
genius
fucking
now,
right.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good point. That's a really good point. Because
how much time did they have a time element here? Like,
they didn't have a countdown, but they did mention that she has 24 hours to live.
Oh, okay.
The movie made no sense of that
might
besides
be
that line.
made 20. I mean, it does take time for things like that to grow in a lab, so maybe.
No, because these mules, she figured out by imagining her head. She was able to go back into her head and figure out what the passports of each mule said. And it was like Rome, Paris, and like one other place. And she gets on a plane and flies to those places in 24 hours. Each of those places was 3 places in 24 hours. And if she was using, at this point, 50 or 60% of her brain, she could accelerate her production of the chemical and make more of herself. It would be a lot faster, but that they never considered that. Also, for some reason, this is another huge plot hole that, like, there's not a single person on IMDb that's been able to contest this. They're like, yeah, well, you just didn't get it, man. They get the drug in her, and then this guy's like, yes, you're going to be shipped off to here, you're gonna be shipped to there, where when you get there, we're going to get it out of you, and then you'll be free. The next scene, she's in a cell, and 2 guys are getting ready to sexually assault her, 2 of the guards. And somebody was like, why would they lock her in the cell if they're going to fly her out to a place to get the drug out of her body? And everybody was like, yeah, that's a good point. Why the fuck is she in there, and where is she? They never explained that either. She's actually still in Taiwan. just sitting in a jail cell for some goddamn reason. And that's when she resists the guy reaching down her shirt. He throws her down and kicks her in the stomach. That's when the drug bursts open in her stomach.
And this guy knows that she's got the drugs in her, right?
Beats the fuck out of me. There's no indication ever that these guys are at all affiliated with the main villain.
Okay.
Yeah. So that leads to one of probably the best shot sequence in the film is when she starts convulsing with the drug inside of her. I'm imagining they did something similar to Inception where they had a rotating room, but she's like convulsing on the wall and on the ceiling. She's like against the ceiling, like shaking. And I'm guessing they just rotated the room so she was on the ceiling and turned. It looked kind of cool, and then it went on for another 2 or 3 minutes, and people started chuckling. And she was getting really over the top. And then she's like pulling the chain and pulling herself back up to the other wall across the room, and it started getting a little bit goofy, and people are laughing. Let's see. She recruits a French cop who is going with her. Granted, she does do some cool things. She has a huge awareness of the world. She calls a cop like across the country. He's like, sit down at your desk, pick up the pen to your left, and start writing down the 3 names that are appearing on your computer screen. And she can control things like that. But the idea is never explored to a satisfying level. And it's just that was kind of what was most disappointing about it, is that it's such an awesome concept, and instead Luc Besson uses it to kind of speculate on the origin of life and stuff like that.
I did see a review where they called this movie Luc Besson's The Tree of Life.
I wouldn't say it like... no, that's being a little bit too generous. It is...
By the way,
Luc
the person who
Besson-
said this is someone who didn't like The Tree of Life, so...
I didn't like it either, to be honest. Luc Besson got high, he watched the Nature Channel, and decided to make this movie.
Okay.
I guess another thing that really bugged me is that I feel like they could have been a lot more of an action. I think I'll probably never ever say this again in my entire life, so cherish it. It could have been a better action film with a higher budget. It could have had a higher budget with a PG-13 rating. This was by no stretch of the imagination a really hard R-rated film with a few choice cuts. This could have easily been a PG-13. Lose a couple F-bombs, somebody gets shot and blood splatters on somebody else's face. That's probably the most violent thing that happens in the movie. Somebody, you see somebody that's been shot and they've got 3 bullet holes in their chest. This is an extremely tame R.
So what you're saying is if they had made this movie as a PG-13, they could have gotten more money to make the movie?
More money, flashier action sequences. This is a $40 million film, and you can see where the budget went. It's into the nature shots. Now, if Luc Besson had a larger budget, he probably would have made some flashier action sequences. As it stands, every sequence is maybe 2 or 3 minutes long, and again, the whole thing is in the trailers. So as a result, this is being pitched as a badass woman that's kicking everybody's ass in her quest for revenge, and when it's not really that at all. She's unlocking secrets of the universe, becoming more and more boring as an actress, and it's just and it's just not a good film. I mean, there are a couple of really cool visual ideas in the film that I wish that Luc Besson had ran with. The very beginning, the opening sequence, this Lucy's boyfriend is trying to get her to bring this case into the hotel so that the bad guy can come down and get it. And the second he asked her this, there's a shot of it's a totally black background, and a mouse is inching towards a mousetrap, sniffing out and looking for the cheese. And once she's in the hotel, he says, okay, I'll call the guys down right now. And they're coming down, and she looks at them coming down the stairs, and all of a sudden the shot changes to a cheetah chasing after an antelope. There are a couple of really neat visual ideas like that, but he never carries it beyond those couple, maybe a couple more shots like that. And every time that there's something cool, it's like he kind of retracts from it and doesn't want to run with it.
I want to say that I just noticed something as I was going through Luc Besson's Wikipedia page. that I think is interesting. I'm pretty sure either Luc Besson or one of his French fans has edited his Wikipedia page
Yeah.
because it is full of the kind of spelling and grammar errors you would expect someone who is not an English speaker.
Okay.
Okay, let me read this sentence. Besson has been involved with filmmaking for more than 50 films spanning 26 years as writer, director, and or producer. He is also being declared the John Hughes of action movies due to his writing screenplays for action movies.
The John Hughes of action movies?
He is
Excuse
also
me?
being declared the John Hughes of action movies due to his writing screenplays for action movies. That is the sentence.
In no place in the world is he being declared that.
The John Hughes of action movies. Who the fuck comes up with
If you're
that?
gonna make up something about yourself, couldn't you pick a better filmmaker? Nothing against John Hughes, but couldn't you have gone the Stanley Kubrick of action? You know what I mean? Like something grander.
The John Hughes of action movies is an. Let's think about that. What would qualify as the John Hughes of action movies? Because John Hughes to me is
Pineapple Express. I mean, I don't know. That's hard to say.
Let me break this down for a moment here. When I think John Hughes, I have to think of his 80s output in particular. And, I think of his films like The Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, She's Having a Baby, things like that, Uncle Buck. And so when I think of that, I think of movies about families. I think movies about growing up. So I would think a person who would be the John Hughes of action movies would be someone who translated movies about families and growing up to action.
Well, all right. To be fair, The Professional kind of was about growing up a little bit, and
oh, didn't he do? Yeah, Besson did The Family, that movie last year with
also did The Family. So I mean, that's a little too literal, I guess. But I mean, maybe he thinks because he's done a couple of these films that qualifies him as the John Hughes of action movies. I don't know.
That
like the Tommy Wiseau of talking about yourself.
Doesn't that sound like something either obsessive French fan or Besson himself or one of his one of his team had to have updated in Wikipedia? I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your spiel on that Hawk, but it was just
Go ahead.
I just thought it was fascinating.
Bill shared a little page with me. It's from Vice, is what the fuck is happening in Lucy, and a couple of these things I said, yep, that's exactly right. Did Morgan Freeman utter even one word that wasn't pure exposition? He did not. He
just exists.
Literally did not. And even towards the very end, Lucy is at 98%, and she's actually this black goo is coming out of her, these tendrils that are seeking out and grabbing onto computers and servers in the room they're in. And someone's like, "What's going on?" And Morgan Freeman's like, "Building some next generation supercomputer." It's like it's just,
building some next generation supercomputer.
Let's see.
I just imagine if your brain was 100, every element of your brain was 100% active at all times. In the world of this movie, we're not assuming science because science has already debunked the theory, but I would imagine they would have made her just turn into a giant gel, bowl of gelatin that was nothing but brain matter or something.
Well, I'll just...
Or does that happen?
Let's just say spoiler warning right now.
All right.
She reaches 100%. She sees all of time forever, from creation, from the point she is back in time to creation and back into present time. Then she disappears. The bad guy shoots at the empty chairs, where'd she go? And the French cop shoots him in a totally non-climactic ending. Then the giant computer, with gel and shit on the servers, it sticks out a USB drive. And Morgan Freeman takes it, and the French cop is like, "Where did she go?" and then his phone rings and it pops up and it's a text message that says, "I am everywhere," and then that's the end of the movie.
She becomes the total perspective vortex. Speaking of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
So,
Yeah, pretty much.
God damn.
So a couple of the things that on this Vice thing that really jumped out at me. It's like, let's see. Did Lucy use her super brain to somehow make the internet faster? Wikipedia loads really fast on her computer, so she sits down at her friend's laptop and starts reading like articles like and windows are going and it's like so fast, faster than she's making she's making the internet go faster, like Vice said.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see. Why did she not teleport or fly to the hospital? If that's not part of her skill set, it seems like something she should be able to do, or at least want to do. Like I said, she takes a plane all over the world to find these other drug needles.
Couldn't she have at least made the plane better with her mind or something?
Oh, one of the funniest things in the whole movie, I laughed at this really hard. Like, one of the scientists was like, "So how do we know what she is?" She like grabbed his shoulders like, "Your 5-year-old son died last year in a car crash. It was a red car with a blue like air freshener." And he's like, "Oh!" And it's like she like looks him dead in the face, like totally cold, tells him that thing. He's like, why did she tell him that? Like the whole theater just busted out laughing because it was like the most hurtful thing you could do to a person is call back their childhood memory. Why couldn't you say like, "You got married on this date," or like, "Your dick looks weird"? It's like that his
well, I don't care
died.
how smart you are, Chris. You have to, or Hawk. Oh, sorry. You have to have seen.
No, you if you're, it's just, I don't know. It's just, there's like a lot of really funny things.
What I want to know is how does having 100% brain power allow you to see all of time? Like, shouldn't that just mean you have 100% brain processing power?
Because
she essentially becomes.
Says it happens.
She essentially becomes omniscient. I believe, for all intents and purposes, without actually saying it in the movie, she becomes God. It's because when she goes back in time, she sees a monkey that's like, drinking water, and she touches the monkey's finger. And I think what Luc Besson was going for is that she then passes on all of the knowledge that she has to the monkey, and that sets forth evolution itself.
Hence, Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, exactly. It's her fucking fault.
God damn it.
Except that the motion capture on that monkey was total dog shit compared to what Andy Serkis can do. The bad guy.
They can only hire the motion capture performance of Tom Hanks.
I'm pretty sure they did not motion capture at all. They kind of just, animated a monkey using the Unity engine.
Oh god, like the monkeys from fucking Jumanji.
Close. Yeah, a little bit better. Not too much.
Oh, so like the monkeys from Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Yes.
Okay.
No Shia LaBeouf, so that makes this movie better than that one by proxy.
You know what my favorite shot from the trailer was the bad guy, the Korean bad guy, looking near the camera and sweating and going, "Ah!"
I love that actor. He's really good, and he's totally fucking wasted in this movie.
He's the guy from Old Boy, right?
Old Boy, and he was the villain in I Saw the Devil.
Yeah.
He does about as much as he does in the trailer. Also, that part where he gets stabbed in the hands occurs about 35 minutes into the movie, and later on he's like shooting guns like a pro, with his hands bandaged. So you'd think that would make it a little hard to do that, but whatever.
Yeah, well, whatever.
He another part that this will probably be like my last little spiel. The part that I laughed really hard at, and I was not supposed to laugh at, was the bad guy's right-hand man. They're fighting their way to the room where Scarlett Johansson is, or Lucy is, and also she said, "I need to concentrate," and couldn't she have just gone out, killed all those guys, and had all the time she wanted? Instead, she's sitting in there as the French cops are fighting off the mobsters. And then earlier, the mobsters had got their trunks open, they're loading their guns. 10 feet away in front of them, the cops are roaring up to the university, getting out and going inside. They didn't notice black cars, a bunch of Asian dudes in crisp suits, unloading their big-ass automatic weapons and, like, getting them all ready to go. Didn't notice it. They were
Well,
like...
yeah, isn't that just Tuesday in that area?
Not in... this is in France, or Paris, by now. The climax takes place in this university in Paris, a really nice part of town.
They knew that they were on the set of a Luc Besson movie, and they were like, oh, that's normal.
Yeah, I guess so. They're like, all right, let's do the thing. Anyway, the right-hand man, like, one of the guys holds up a rocket launcher, then he gets shot, he's like, rah! He, like, as he dives, he throws it into the air. The henchman runs, he, like, catches it and does, like, a rock and roll power slide and then fires the bazooka in the middle of his slide. Like, I'm talking a Bruce Springsteen gets on his knees and slides forward while he's firing the bazooka.
I was gonna say that would be my new band name, Rock and Roll Power Slide.
It's already taken.
Oh, is it? Damn.
Probably. Yeah, that's what he's like. Shop. And,
that would really hurt his knees. I mean, like, this is on a street, right?
no, it's inside.
Oh, it's inside. Okay.
This is in the hallway of the university, right outside.
It's all
Yeah,
glass.
he was on a marble floor.
Yeah.
Besson loves his rocket launchers, doesn't he?
He really does. I can't. Does Arthur and the Invisibles have a rocket launcher?
Don't know about that one.
Maybe besides the 3 Arthur movies, I would bet you like every single Luc Besson movie has a rocket launcher, produced or directed.
That's his version of a Hitchcock cameo.
That's like his John Woo Doves thing.
It's just a rocket launcher.
It is my style. It's my thing I have in every single film.
Which makes me want to see Luc Besson's adaptation of Hamlet.
Oh, it'd
Didn't
be
they-
like in
Last Action Hero.
Last Action Hero, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's going to be a Transporter 4, 5, and 6, by the way.
Of
Oh,
course.
nice.
On his IMDb. We need those, no doubt. Okay, I guess at the very least, if I could give this movie one thing, it was not directed by Olivia Megaton.
That's true. That is very true. This is not Columbiana or whatever.
It's not Columbiana, Taken 2, Transporter 2, Transporter 3. What else did he
House
do?
Party 3. What?
No, what?
Yeah. Okay, so needless to say, Lucy sounds like a movie I will be avoiding.
Yeah.
I have seen another movie this weekend, though, which
What's that?
I would like everyone to see, if possible. Philip Seymour Hoffman's final completed performance in A Most Wanted Man.
Was there
Oh,
a
I
rocket
live in
launcher?
Wyoming. It's not gonna happen.
There is no rocket launcher.
Oh, okay.
A Most Wanted Man is the latest adaptation of a John le Carre novel, and if you're familiar with John le Carre's work, previous films adapted by his, well, not by him, but by his, based on his novels, include The Constant Gardener, Tinker Tailor, Soldier Spy. One of my favorite classic 60s spy movies, The Spy Who Came In From the Cold.
He did the American was his too, was it not?
The director of A Most Wanted Man did that, but that's not based on a John
okay.
le Carre.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it definitely has. Did you see The American?
Me?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I thought the American was phenomenal.
Yeah, it has that same kind of. It's clearly made from the same director.
That's good.
A Most Wanted Man is, if you're familiar at all with John le Carre as a writer, it has that feel of all of them, in that he is not your typical spy movie author. His stories are hyper realistic in that they are about as close as you can get to the real world of espionage as possible. You have instead of the villain being a black and white, just the Russians are the villains or the Americans are the villains or something. It's more of the situation itself is in itself the problem. The theme of The Most Wanted Man is how, in the modern day post 9/11 world, the pressure from the public to get immediate results causes governments, particularly the U.S. and German government in this movie's case, to effectively just arrest people as soon as we find out that they are terrorists, and just hope that in interrogation we can get information out of them, rather than doing real research and developing basically doing undercover work and developing developing contacts in order to find who the real planning people are. The movie takes place in Hamburg, Germany, and it stars Philip Seymour Hoffman as Gunther, a German spy whose job is to basically he's in charge of all counter-terrorism espionage within Hamburg. And his team has discovered that there's this shipping company based out of Hamburg that may be a front for Al-Qaeda. And in an attempt to try to get into, get an entree into that organization, Hoffman is developing leads with a major Islamic political leader within the city via a recently arrived immigrant. And so it's a very complicated plot, which may be the problem with these movies, in that you can tell that as a novel, these probably work better because there's a lot of detail, a lot of nuance to them. With that said, A Most Wanted Man may be one of the best adaptations of the work, because you don't have to have... all you need to do is be determined to sit down and to pay attention to the movie, and you will be immersed in this dark and dilapidated world that is the modern day spy. Philip Seymour Hoffman's character is a alcoholic. He's had a lot of failures. In fact, he's probably failed more times than he's succeeded in his work. He's towards the end of his career where he could be useful. And he's relegated to Hamburg, which it is really just kind of a... it doesn't have the sexiness of having a job, in a more, in a bigger city, or a more... a city that's more heavily tied to the Middle East. The only thing about Hamburg that is important to note is that the 9/11 terrorist attacks were planned in Hamburg, Germany. And so that's why they maintain a heavy presence there, counterterrorism. The performances are fantastic all around. Philip Seymour Hoffman, Rachel McAdams, Willem Dafoe plays a banker in it, and he's fantastic. Robin Wright is great. It's worth noting, though, the real power of the film comes from a little-known actor, I think it's pronounced Grigory Dobrygin. I can't pronounce it for the life of me. He plays a character named Issa Karpov, who is a Chechen immigrant, recently arrived in Hamburg after being tortured by the Russians. And his character is a perfect example of, and it sort of sets off the political agenda that this film certainly has, which is an indictment of Bush-era policies, which are still in place today. Of, you find out that a person may have ties to Al-Qaeda, and immediately they get arrested and sent off to Guantanamo Bay or something, when in fact you really don't have evidence to convict. This person may actually be an innocent who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And he conveys the innocence of this, of a person who does have a past that he is deeply regretful of, but he was never directly involved in terrorism. The only reason his name is on a terror list, and they say this pretty blatantly in the movie, is because the Russians tortured him for several weeks. And, who under torture wouldn't admit to whatever someone's accusing him of? And that's what's interesting about the movie. It's a really performance-driven film, and I feel like it's hard to explain the movie without making it seem like it's a tough viewing, and that's because it is a brainy movie that requires your attention. It's probably not going to win any Oscars. It's much like a couple of years ago, the film adaptation of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. It's a very detailed movie where if you are distracted, you're probably going to get lost and not know where the movie's going. But with that said, I found the film to be an excellent thriller, and because it's Philip Seymour Hoffman's final performance, I don't see any reason why someone shouldn't invest the time to watch it.
All right.
Nah, I'd rather go see Zach Braff.
Yeah.
Fantastic endorsement.
I feel like I should affect some sort of like asshole-ish like Boston accent and tell you to go fuck off or something.
How about dem apples?
Oh, that's fine.
I
That's
don't like
good.
dem apples, Will.
Now we're coming up on almost 2 hours, but did we talk about any trailers before I got here?
No.
Nah, we talked about Ninja Turtles a little bit.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. You guys know who's reviewing that one?
No, is it you?
Yes.
Oh, nice. Okay, I can't wait to read that.
Yeah. Let me ask you, since you're going in, what is your experience with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Yes.
I think they're kind of dumb.
Did you watch them as a kid at all?
No. I played the arcade game. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I understand the turtles and what they are. I know all the characters for the most part, and I can understand why the turtles are supposed to be cool as the original cartoon. Apparently, they were actually made. The cartoon was supposed to be stupid. They're like, yeah, this is really, really dumb. Let's fucking do it.
Well, it started as a comic book series, and the comic books were in themselves meant as a parody.
Right.
Of comic
But
books.
the comic books are gritty. The original Eastman Laird comic books. They're all in black and white. A lot of black used. A lot of shadows.
A lot of blood.
Yeah, there was blood in it, and
Frank Miller's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
it's gritty. Like it's good stuff.
I will say, from my experience, I grew up on the cartoon series as the thing that I knew. I saw the movies a couple times when I was a kid, but not enough that I remembered it. Only within the last few months, I went back and rewatched all of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies, and those reviews are the reviews. I reviewed the first 3 films, and those are all up on the site. The first one, the original 1990 movie, is totally worth watching, if only because it is so in love with the fact that it is terrible.
I wouldn't say that, but
It is. This is a movie that knows how bad it is, and it goes wholeheartedly into it. It's full of ridiculous product placement, terrible stunts with cheesy costumes. Although, to be fair, all of that would get worse with each successive film.
Right.
I will encourage you, Chris, Hawk, I'm sorry, I keep
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. I will encourage you to go back and rewatch at least the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie.
I think I saw it a
before you
long
go see-
time ago.
Yeah,
it
re-
was.
Is it on Netflix?
It was on YouTube. I don't know if it's
Oh, okay.
still on YouTube, but it might be on Netflix. But I know for sure that it was on YouTube, like as of a month ago.
Okay.
Well, yeah, but those things get pulled quick, especially with
Because the new one's coming out. Yeah. Cinema Sins just did, that YouTube account that does
Yeah.
everything wrong in however much time. They did one for the 1990 Ninja Turtles movie recently. This is a pretty funny video.
Yeah, the first Ninja Turtles movie I would encourage you to go back and watch and laugh at. I will say the highlight of the Ninja Turtles movie is Casey Jones. Everything Casey Jones oriented is hilarious.
And Raphael. Raphael, of the 4 turtles, is the only one that gets any real character development. And he's awesome. He's awesome in the movie.
Ninja Turtles 2 is a fucking waste of your time. It's the story.
No, it's not. No, it's not at all.
Yes, it is.
Oh man, I completely disagree with you. 2 is so much fun. 2 is just like, it's so stupid.
Okay, here's the thing. I want. You know what? Okay, 3 is the waste of your time. 2 is watchable as a relic of the early 90s.
Yeah.
The first one's a relic of the 80s, 90s, for sure. But the first one is a relic that also works as a good bad movie. The second one is the story is just so terrible.
I would argue that the second one works better as a so bad it's good movie. Just because, like, think about it. There's a Vanilla Ice concert going on next door to the fucking
Shredder's
bad guy's
hideout.
hideout.
That's. I think the thing that pisses me off the most about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 is it is a literal cockblock at the end. Shredder grows into Mega Shredder, and then he destroys himself by knocking out some barriers from underneath his dock that was crush him to death. And then the movie's over.
Mega Shredder in the new one. You got that big ass armor.
The thing is that the first movie cockblocks, because you think him and Splinter are going to have this showdown, and then he just runs at Splinter, and Splinter flips him off the side of the building with the nunchuck.
You see, that works for me because at least it showed that that there was some level of martial arts in it, and plus you get that great spit take joke where Shredder falls to his death into a garbage truck, and you see Casey Jones press the crusher button and go, "Oops," and walk off. And you watch as the Shredder gets crushed to death. That's awesome.
You see his helmet get crushed, yet he comes back unharmed in the second movie. And then as a Super Shredder, after surviving all that as a mortal, as a Super Shredder, a bunch of wood takes him out.
Yeah. It makes no fucking sense.
But that's what I'm saying. That adds to it.
See, I like to think that the first movie exists within a vacuum. And that, the first movie is... I like to think that the first movie is the only canon Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. So
I'm kind of hoping that the new one is one of those so bad it's good, because I have a guilty... After seeing Wrath of the Titans, I have a bit of a guilty pleasure for Jonathan Liebsman, who directed that and this, and I hated Battle Los Angeles, but I got a huge kick out of just the don't give a fuck attitude of Wrath of the Titans. You guys saw that one, right?
I saw Clash of the Titans.
See Wrath of the Titans. It is far superior and much more fun than Clash was.
Okay.
It's like when at the very end when you see Kronos, the god of lava or whatever the hell he is, he swipes his hand, he punches the mountain and it blows up, and the camera swoops over like the city on the mountain exploding, and you see this guy going like at the camera, and it's just like there's little bits like that are just so much fun. Like the final battle between Perseus and Ares. Is for all intents and purposes a WWE match. He like throws him through a pillar and like slams him down on more stone. It's fun. I had a total blast with that movie, and I'm really hoping that. But it is kind of a shitty movie. But I'm kind of hoping that TMNT is like that as well, like entertaining, but because it's kind of stupid.
Well, we'll see. I will say then. You definitely need to see the first TMNT movie.
I saw it a long time ago. I mean, I think the Turtles are cool. I just haven't been caught up with the canon in like the last 15,000 cartoon iterations they've done.
I unapologetically love that first movie.
If you watch any modern TMNT cartoon stuff, I will recommend you see the Turtles Forever movie. Turtles Forever was basically it was meant as the last episode of one of the recent TMNT cartoon series.
Yeah, the 2003 series.
Yeah, you don't have to have seen the series to get into this. I know because I hadn't. The movie, basically, what makes it cool is it pays tribute by being it basically has the Ninja Turtles from all the different cartoon series in one movie. It even has the friggin' like graphic novel Turtles.
Yeah, the black and white.
Yeah.
comic book Turtles.
Black and white and creepier.
Which,
Like,
my-
the rest
my-
of the Turtles are totally creeped out by them and stuff like that.
My
That
favorite
is a fun movie.
My favorite part of the comic book Turtles being in there is that they have comic book Shredder pop up, and he looks all badass, and I think somebody just throws a rock at him, and he falls over, and he's just gone.
Yeah, they just kill him right on the spot.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I liked about it, because it was clearly the animators were like, we're going to just have fun with this one and just merge all the different universes together. I think there's even a couple scenes where you can see, like, it's all based on the multiverse concept, and you see, like, flashes of even the live-action Turtles in areas.
I think that's on YouTube, and there's actually a slightly longer, quote-unquote, director's cut version of it, which has some extra fight scenes in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is fun, so, yeah, I would recommend that. Don't watch the 2007 TMNT movie.
I have seen that one.
Yeah, it's
not that it's as bad as it could have been. It's just not particularly interesting.
I would call it earnest, but not earnest enough.
It's earnest, but it's like Ernest goes to. It's like Ernest in the army versus Ernest goes to camp.
That was good.
Yeah.
That's a good good use of that.
As opposed to the importance of being earnest.
Right.
Which, by the way, if Jim Varney had lived long enough to be in The Importance of Being Earnest, that would have been an amazing thing.
Well, I don't know. On How Did This Get Made, when they were talking about Ernest Goes to Jail, he mentions that they were in pre-production for Ernest the Pirate before Jim Varney died. I've Googled the hell out of this, and I can't find any evidence. Like, did he just make that up?
Probably. I mean, How Did This Get Made? They don't do a lot of research about their movies.
Right.
And I think that, what I can say, because, obviously I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent off of just a stupid joke that I made, is I think that Bring It Back, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles looks like there's the potential that it could be a god-awful waste of time, but there's also the potential, if it embraces its corny concept, that it could be entertaining, and I'm looking forward to seeing it in the theater and judging for myself.
All right.
I haven't seen anything in the trailers that truly piss me off, other than the way the turtles' noses are designed. I think looks kind of stupid. But
Yeah, that's a little bad, but other than that, it's surprisingly not shitty. It's just not good.
Well, it's just not anything. They don't give. You don't hear any lines or anything like that.
It seems a little misguided.
Yeah.
But I would say misguided at worst. I'm actually a little worried that I might enjoy it. now that Felix and I have expended all this energy just hating the shit out of this movie, I told her the other day, I was like, I'm really worried it might actually be good. She's like, am I punked right now? Seriously? And so now I've been guilted into actually hating it, preemptively. I will go in.
Don't let someone guilt you into hating something.
I won't. I will go in with a clear mind. I will. But we'll see what happens, I guess.
All right. Well, with that note, I think we've covered our subjects as much as we possibly can for a night. So we'll see you next week with our full Guardians of the Galaxy overview and further predictions of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, as well as I'll be discussing Boyhood more than likely.
I might go see Get On Up. Maybe.
I will see Get On Up. I've got 4 days off. I have no reason not to. And I'm a James Brown fan. So
I don't think this is going to be good.
I have no reason to expect it to be good. I have every reason to see it just because I have time. I will see it.
Right.
All right, guys. Well, have a good night.
Everybody.
Take care.